I'm going to put that on. Appreciate that. Okay, so yes, that some of us it's easier to stop and listen. I will say, as an I, we probably struggle the most, just a little bit, because we're busy talking too. Okay, here's another thing. We talked about asking powerful questions and what a difference that makes, especially during discovery. And we ended last time, and I'm so obviously so excited for what I read through and the feedback of the ones I didn't see and all those presentations that I did see. Excellent work. And this time we're going to do it again. We're going to do it a little longer. We're going to do it all together. But I really want us to now start to be, okay, you guys are professionals at this. Let's start to look at how can we raise it up. So we're going to be, I want to just show you one thing real quick to refer to that. Hang on. That checklist. Do you remember that checklist that I gave you? Hang on a second. Let me get over to it just a moment. The presentation checklist. I just want us to look at it real quick because there's a couple of things on here that I want us to see. Can everybody yet see my screen? Thumbs up if you can see the virtual checklist. Everybody has a copy of this, correct? Okay. I wanted to look down for just a minute because look at something under the, we've talked about setting yourself up for success and about your camera and about watching what's going on behind you. By the way, I would say, does anybody use a backdrop? I'm seeing that right now I can see your normal home. Is this where you'd make your presentations? I see Atik and Michelle. Michelle, you've got the fuzzy effect, and Atik, you've got a backdrop, right?
No, that's his house.
I was like, come on.
I'm teasing.
No. But okay. So no, I love.
That's my real kitchen.
This image is from Hitachi office, London office.
I love it. No, I love it. So just pay attention to what's going on behind you. That's all that matters. And so that it's not distracting. So that's what those things said. The craft the content of your message. I wanted to just stop for one moment and point out one of the bullets there. And it's spend at least 25% of your time upfront building rapport and making a connection with your audience. And then you can see the other 50% on content and 25% on questions at the end. Again, why invest that time at the top? What does that do for you? George.
And it increased.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
I was going to say I would think that it would be to increase the, like if you connect with a group or with an individual first, then they're more interested in what you have to say.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have, I mean, when you say 25% of your time up front, are you, you're talking about the virtual presentation. Okay.
In the presentation.
I'm like, we can't do that.
No.
I can't spend 15 minutes of my meeting chatting with my client.
Well, and here's what you do. Here's what we want to make sure we do is that even like I got on early. Atik came on just a little bit early. We had a time we were talking a little bit about the weather and about snow and temperatures. We were doing a little bit of that chit chatting. Charles, when you noticed that their team was chit chatting and doing that kind of thing, that part is what I'm talking about. Whatever that is, because the more you have rapport, the more it allows you to sort of smooth the way for the information that you're going to be sharing, right? And so, because what do you ultimately want them to think about you?
One,
George.
they like you.
Charles, you want them
Two.
to like you. George, I'd love to. What do you want them to think about you?
This to me, yeah, I'm not. See, the most important thing is to make a connection.
To make that connection.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead.
I mean, now they feel they will be open to hear you and accept what you are saying, and you will build this kind of trust.
Exactly. Okay, good. So that you're trustworthy, that they believe you, that they're willing to be open and hear you. Charles, what were you going to add to that?
I was just going to say that it increases the trust and it makes them want to believe in the things that you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're building the foundation on. In the beginning of the relationship, that's where that starts to happen. And so it was interesting because I know I got a little bit of, maybe concern about the fact last week was only 1 or 2 minutes. And you had to hop right into a presentation. I get that. Likely before you start that presentation, there'd be an amount of chit chat before you dove right in. Yes? Yeah, okay. But do know, sometimes you're going to have to hop right in. And in the beginning of your presentation, you're going to have to capture them. Somehow that it needs to seem and feel and be, you almost have to decide, which is why I wanted you to look down under more to consider. You have to start to decide, how conversational do I want this to be? Do I want it to be open and I'm asking questions like a discovery type conversation, or do I want this to be, now I'm in presenter mode, let me get all of it out? What are you looking for? And I would just say that when it comes to make up your mind beforehand, and maybe you can even tell them, I have this information I want to get out to you at the other end of this in just a few minutes. I will leave time for questions and answers. Or you might be more conversational, like I tend to want to be, and say, as I'm going along, I'm going to be presenting a lot of information. If there's anything you want me to stop and explain, or you'd like to ask a question, please do that. Do you see how? So in those first moments, even though we only did 1 or 2 minutes, maybe some of you were thinking, how in the world can anybody tell anything in the first couple minutes? I will tell you that we only have a couple minutes to really grab them. And have you ever been on a call where everybody's on their screen, and then after about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, people start going off screen? Have you noticed that happening later in a meeting? It's because we've lost them a little bit, or we want to re-engage them. So that's part of what, even though you've got just a couple minutes to do what we're doing even today, we have to grab them in the beginning to help build that relationship and build the trust, George, you were just talking about, and you too, Charles. So if you look down, this checklist is filled with ideas, and under more to consider, know your audience so you can speak with them in a way they can relate. We talked about that. Watch jargon, those kinds of things. Any kind of a way to start with, what do you want to have happen? That end in mind. It's the first time I've talked to this client. They don't know me. Yes, I have a lot of information, but I have zero rapport because this is the first time we'll have met. We got to hit the ground running. What am I going to do to build rapport up front and fast? Because it matters. Or this is the 5th call we've had together. We know each other. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that. Do you see? So some of this is us, you and I, trying to figure out, what do we want to have happen? Not just in the content of the presentation, but in setting it up for success. Any thoughts or comments about how you do that?
So because we have very limited time, within 1 or 2 minutes, how to build that connection before presentation, that is quite challenging.
Yes, well,
but I have seen some of my colleague, one of the Scrum Master. She was so good that before starting a Scrum, having only 15 minutes, before 15 minutes, also 1 or 2 minutes, she so much connected with the client. Client is very happy to discuss all this thing. So such technique or tools we need to adopt. So I'm looking at how to to improve those techniques.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Anybody else thoughts about this whole notion of how things get set up and how that can set the stage for success for you?
Usually if I don't have a huge group and there are new people on the call, I will have people introduce themselves.
Nice. Okay.
and maybe tell what department or what team they're on or something like that, especially on the client side, just so we kind of know who we're talking to and we establish that rapport that way.
Jackie, you're muted.
Can you all hear me?
Now, yeah, now it's
Now you can. Okay, Kanika, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear that last section of what you said.
Saying that, yeah, oh, yeah, I was just saying that, you know, I'll have people, especially on the client side, if we have new people or it's a new project or something like that, we'll just have them introduce themselves and like what team they're on or what department they're in so that we kind of know who we're talking to.
Excellent. Yes. So just recognize that isn't time wasted. That's part of the process. So that when you get to some things that we're going to be talking about, where you might have to share something that's gonna, you know, we're gonna have to work through this, or there may be a response to it that you want to be sure, you know, is positive, then taking the time to get to know them better matters. Hang on a second. One more thing I wanted to add to this, what we've picked up. You've already mentioned this, and that is, this is really about connecting first, then communicating or convincing. People want to do business, and especially want to work alongside with projects that are, in some cases, you know, $1 million projects. They want to know that you got them. And so that comes with time and trust. Okay, so I just want you to recognize this checklist. We didn't go over it. You can look at it, but it really is a worthy resource for you to check through and go, okay, am I covering these things? Because the truth is, all of this rapport building and everything, the fact that we're virtual, it just it's one more thing we just have to pay attention to. It's not as easy sometimes for this virtual connection. But you guys are already well on your way to doing a fabulous job at it. Okay, let me tell you what we're going to be doing today. We're going to talk about some of the courageous communication we have to have with our clients, delivering tough news, or when conversation's going on and we know we need to speak up and say something, but we're not sure how to do that. We'll talk about that for just a little bit, and then we'll jump right into our presentations. Okay, any questions about what we're going to do? Good? Okay, excellent. Okay. Let's talk for just a second about the things that you might, you know, when you have to speak up, you have to say something. How many of you have zero trouble ever? I can speak up, no problem. I got this thing. How many of you are kind of like that? You just right in there, speak up. Anybody? Raise your hand if you're.
I would rather speak up than not speak up.
Okay, okay. So
unless I just, like, I saw some things in your sheet where it's like, you know, if I don't want to interrupt, I try to wait unless I absolutely need to. I understand when I need to. But I also don't want to just to speak either. So I don't like those people myself.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, so let's talk about this for just a second. So what stops us? Because now, let me ask you a question. Are there certain communication styles that tend to maybe struggle with speaking up more than others? Like, who are the ones
Definitely
that
think
have no
so.
problem? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I think some people, like, I know for me, like when I wouldn't want to speak up is if I feel like I'm not going to provide enough value. Like, if I'm not going to provide value, then why am I speaking? Or if the person that is speaking is going to provide more value. It's whenever I think I have something additional I can add, or I'm going to put forth something into the conversation that I'm like, okay, yes, I'm going to speak up.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So I'm going to get to a couple of those considerations. Anybody else? What styles do you think have no problem? Boom, they're speaking up. There's two styles that tend to be like right in there, no problem.
I think probably direct.
Direct, the D's, absolutely. And who else do you think? No problem. They'll speak up.
The I.
Yeah, the I's, the two more outgoing. And then that leaves our S's and C's, only because a lot of times they tend to be more reserved. They're thinking things through. They can tend to do that. But I will say, let's look at this first It's actually page 2. It says having courageous communication. So if you'll look at that on your screen, and it says what stops us from speaking up. So check out these couple of things and tell me what you think. The first one, it says, I'll speak up, but only when I have something useful. So this is what Kaylee was talking about. Atik, would you read what it says under there? There's just a couple of lines there that starts with it's likely.
So what to stop us from the speaking up, that first one or
Yeah.
second?
That first bullet.
I will speak up, but only when I have something useful to offer. It's likely that your standard of what of the value is higher than it needs to be. So if you are sitting there wondering, will it be useful or not? It probably is. So open your mouth and start talking.
Okay, so sometimes we'll say, well, I don't want to step in here. I don't know if what I have to say is going to be useful. And what they're saying here is we tend to overthink that, especially if we're worried about like how we're kind of fitting into the communication. The truth is your standard for what's useful is probably much higher. And I bet you that you've got something excellent to contribute. So speak up. So that's what that one says. Charles, what's the second bullet say? Can you see that it starts with I make sure?
Yes. I was just making sure that my microphone was on.
Okay.
I want to make sure that what I say makes sense. So I'll just think about it a bit more before I speak up. By the time you've worked out what you want to say, the discussion will have moved on. It may not be perfect, but it's more important that you be heard now.
One of the things they say as far as overall credibility when you're in a meeting is if you want to be heard and taken seriously, to speak up and speak up early in a meeting. So you might be a secondary person, maybe, or maybe you're the first one on, and but others are having conversation. To try to step in, don't overthink it, in other words, and just contribute, because when the moment's there and you're like, oh, has anybody ever been in this situation where you're like, yeah, no, hang on a minute, something's going there. That wasn't the right calculation, or something went by and you wanted to correct the situation, but just didn't. Anyone ever had that? Yeah. So these are the moments that speaking up, stop and go, okay, hold on just a minute. Let me contribute, really can make a huge difference. So Michelle, what's that third bullet say?
It'll look like I'm dominating the meeting if I speak up too much. If you're a person who generally doesn't speak up much, the likelihood of this being the case is vanishingly small. Let that thought go, or let this thought go. If you have difficulty with this, ask a colleague whose opinion you respect to let you know if they think you're speaking too much.
Yeah. So if you're worried about that, then have somebody give you a little, or at the meeting say, you know, I feel like I want to have other people speak, but I'm not quite sure. Tell me if I'm speaking up too much. And then the last one is there's never a silence for me to speak in. It's rude to interrupt. How do you handle that, Kanika?
I struggle with that. So I usually try to, if I have a question, I usually try to kind of break in and ask my question at that moment, because yeah, you know, like you were saying, a lot of times if you spend too much time thinking about something, then the conversation moves on and you're not getting your original thought and question answered from the last topic. So yeah.
Right. So what, someone want to help out? What do you do when you're like, I need to say something, but I'm not quite sure how to do it? Anybody have a suggestion?
Yeah, I can raise my hand
Mm-hmm.
or wait till the parking lot section of the meeting so I can share my thoughts.
Yeah. I know, you guys, I get it. You're professionals, but these are things that all of us as human beings from time to time, and maybe based on the audience that we're with. So if you're an S or a C and you're sitting across for the, you know, the call with high Ds, clients who are high Ds, and you can tell that it can be easy to let some of these things stand in our way. So yes, even raising our hands, stop and say, just hold on, don't let it go on beyond where you stop and interject. That that, and then bring something of value, that can have great effect. You just don't want to not speak up and then later have to come back and correct something, right? Because then that's even worse. Okay, let me give you a couple of other things. If you're trying to think, all right, I know I need to say something. I don't have my I'm not making a presentation today, but I want to contribute. Here's a couple of things, and you can see this at the bottom of your sheet here. These are just ideas for you to show up at that meeting and have great value. If you're not making a presentation, at least ask some questions. Right? Ask a question that maybe sparks further discussion. You don't have to have the answers, just ask the question. Because what does that say about you when you spark a question that gets further discussion going? What does that say about you, Ian?
Well, it shows that you're interested and you're involved if you contribute in some way.
Yeah, and again, listen, clients want to work with somebody who seems eager to contribute. And that's what they're looking for. You could also summarize the discussion. What I think I've heard us all say now, and then you can pull some of the thoughts together. Even if you didn't have all the participate in other parts of it, you can summarize it. Or if you stop and say, okay, so that piece right there, let me share with you the work that we've been doing behind the scenes, and you sharing that. Again, if you interject and start sharing something you've been working on, Atik, what does that say to the listeners about you?
Sorry, I was distracted.
That's okay. That's okay. So let me just mention that. I'll come back to you then, Atik. Every time you interject and you share some level of expertise, that builds your credibility. And part of what I know we're all seeking is to be taken seriously, to be seen as a credible resource, all of those things. And these are ways that in a meeting, especially when you're not doing the presenting, that you want to contribute. Here's another one. Maybe you're not the one who's been interjecting, but somebody else has. So I might be at a meeting and I'd be like, Kanika, what you just said, I totally agree with. I think that's spot on. Thank you for sharing that. That was my thought too. It's something as simple as that. I'm reinforcing what she said, but I'm interjecting. Are you with me on these? So as we're going through, would you put a star by any of them? You're like, oh yeah, I should do that once in a while. Here's another one. What if the conversation gets off track? You be the one to steer it back. Right? Especially in discovery. You probably already have to do that. You kind of, okay, let's corral. Here was what I think I heard you say, and those kinds of things. I know you know how to do that. The question is, do we know these little things are in our toolbox? And then at the end, summarize and identify the action steps. What are we going to do? What are you going to do? What did you say? Let's see. What I thought I heard you say was, and we're going to, let's see, Charles, you're going to do this, and Kaylee, you're going to do that, and I'll come back to you in a week and we'll do this. Identifying those action items can be a way for you to contribute, even if you've been just listening the whole rest of the meeting. Okay, now I want to hear from you. Give me any others that you use. Anything else that you commonly do that helps you show up at the meetings?
Yeah, during that discovery, sometime they are discussing a very wide level, which to precise what exactly. So then we ask them to, could you precise what exactly you're looking? So we can add such questions during that conversation.
Okay, good. So you're asking those questions, getting more specific, more detailed. Okay, good. Anything else you do?
And sometimes, like for example, the consultants and all our team also, they are saying, but we need to support in during that or some time. So then we step in and then say, oh, Mr. XYZ is, showing this is the one. I mean, so I'm just rephrasing my words and to understand the audience.
Yes, excellent. And it could be rephrasing the client, what they said, or
Yeah.
rephrasing a colleague. and what they said. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything else that you commonly do? So again, let me show you one more kind of set of ideas. So what's the value? Why not just sit and observe? What's the value of us speaking up during a meeting, especially if this is a new client?
They understand why they're paying you.
Right. And you get to interject little moments of brilliance in there, even if you're not making the full presentation. This starts to sort of smooth the path so that when you do need to sit in the I'm the expert seat, they already see you under that light. A couple other suggestions for you, and this is kind of, just sometimes is a style issue, is be okay with silence after you say something. People are thinkers, and many of the clients that you work with are in that sort of S and C seat. That's the way they communicate. And they just need to process a little bit and be okay. It doesn't mean rejection if there's quiet afterwards. Do try at least at every meeting to speak up at least once. And we've already talked about when you're doing something visual, which we'll get to a little more in a minute, to have bullets. Just keep things really easy to digest. That keeps people excited about and engaged. Okay, I want to shift for just a little bit. I want to talk for just a minute about when you have to do a presentation and it's maybe difficult news. So I realize it's funny because there's great phrases. It's like don't bad news never gets better with time. Never let a problem grow or evolve. Why are these sort of phrases well known in life?
When you have an issue and you ignore it, it's only going to snowball. That's
Yeah,
the way it works.
Yeah,
it's going to get worse.
Let's be real for a minute. How many of you, sometimes when you have to get back to a client, or you're like, I gotta say something here. How many of you maybe struggle with that from time to time, depending on who you're talking about?
I struggle a lot because it's very difficult such bad news to inform to the client. Like, for example, initially we promise that this can be delivered and we are not fulfilling. So in that case, like due to several issues or several problems. So, but like, for example, the timeline, we wanted to increase the timeline for the project and due to some issues. So how to, deliver that is a little bit facing challenge.
Yeah. I love this little cartoon because I know most of us struggle with the bad news because we're afraid of how they'll respond. Like, what the reaction is going to be. Am I right? It's more about, I'm worried about that. So let me just ask you, what types of difficult news do you ever have to deliver?
One is
Usually
a time delivery, and second is like that MVP, which we define that these are going to be delivered, that are having some gaps, which is require additional resource or additional efforts. This type of we need to discuss with the client.
Okay. Anybody else? And what kind of things do you ever have to share with a client?
Oh, lots of bad news. Some have to do with scheduling. We're not going to be able to meet the schedule that was anticipated. Other times, we'll get into something in development and we'll find out that what we've agreed to is not really possible under certain circumstances. And we have to go back and, redesign, and that's some bad news.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see if I've got some other things to just to add to the things that you just have mentioned. I mean, the issue oftentimes in that isn't the bad news itself, it's our reluctance or that bothers us. It's our reluctance or our churning or worry or concern about how that's going to come across, or what that makes me look like, or what that makes the Hitachi solutions look like. And those kinds of things can cause us to pause and delay. Now, there's nothing wrong with pausing because you want to get a good strategy if you have to deliver some news to them. But let me give you a couple things that are not a great strategy. It's put it off too long, or think someone else has got this. I'll let my D communicator handle this. Here's the other thing, and I know we can be tempted to do this. Let me just write it down. Let me write it down, and then I'll just email it to them. Does anyone ever? Anybody? Anyone? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Good. Got. Well, it's hard. The face-to-face is the part that we tend to worry about, or that we don't tell them everything. We like, well, let me just let me give them this piece of it, and then let me hold on to that for a minute. And next week I'll tell them that piece of it. These are all just reactions we all have. And sometimes it comes across, or we feel defensive, and so the finger, that's part of what we struggle with, or that we know we need to deliver something, or we did deliver something, but then we don't follow up really well. Or even this is not a good strategy. So even if you say it in a funny way, it doesn't always work. So here's what I want us to turn to. And Ian, the materials that you were asking about were the part 3 materials that I sent out in the email that had your responses in there. So it's just another Word document. It's got a couple of pages, and if you can get that pulled up, that'd be great. But here's what I want. This is now on the top of the next page. Strong ways to deliver difficult news. And then we're going to do a little exercise practicing this. Here's some things to consider. Number 1, what's the relationship you have with this person? Like, stop and go, okay, well, hang on a second. Do I know them very well? Do we get along? Do I have rapport with this person or not? What's my connection level? Okay. So that's number 1. You're looking for the one-on-one, and then gauge based on that relationship, how much do they trust me? Do I think? Now, I'm just curious, not just you, but it could be the project, the organization. How can you tell if someone trusts you? Like, how could you tell if a client trusted you? George, tell me what your thoughts are on that.
With my previous experiences with the customer, so we passed by several situations, and from them, through the communication back, I can verdict if they really trust me, or even they are not. So yeah, from my previous experiences in general with them.
Okay. So think back to the very first day we were talking about when you have a connection with somebody and how you can really tell if you don't, right? Because what's communication like, Michelle, if you don't have a connection, if there's not a good, like if you're like, I'm not even connected yet alone, I don't know if this person trusts me. What's communication like with someone in that case? Unmute if you wouldn't mind.
The communication can be very, it seems almost stifled.
Right. So we can feel it, can't we? Can you feel when there's a disconnect with people? Can you see? And that take that to the next level. If you don't even have a connection, trust is maybe shaky. So we need to check on that. And it may be that you have to go back and build that before you come with this information. Also, I would please suggest that you think through when you're going to talk to them. When's the best time? If you're, obviously we're virtual, so you wouldn't worry about where, but certainly pay attention to, is this something you're going to share with them on Friday afternoon before they go home? Or is this something you're going to share with them on Monday? What's going to set somebody up for success? And then ultimately, needs to be about where are you with this? Because if you're feeling like, I'm afraid of this person, or I'm a little scared, or man, we messed up, or whatever that is, you need to get yourself to a really good solution-oriented emotional state. Yeah. And then the last piece is what you've already been doing, which is maybe alter what you're going to say based on who you're talking to. Because if you have bad news to deliver to a D, are you going to go into a whole lot of detail? Everybody do this. I mean, no, because they want the bullets. They want the high level bullets, and you better tell me what you're going to do to fix it. That's what they want to know. But if you're going into sharing bad news with a C, Sushil, what would you need to do or add to your news if it was a C you were communicating with?
Yeah, if you're C, definitely a lot of details with examples and information, and then action plan what you're going to do. So that's what we would do it when you're communicating to a C. Yeah,
Right.
for D, definitely it's just bullet points and actions.
There you go. And the S's and the I's are somewhere in between. So paying attention to who is this person? What's my relationship? What level of trust do I think they have? And where am I? So if you're like, oh, I can't believe this, you're upset about something, don't deliver it then. Get yourself into a good spot where you feel like you've got all the information you need to deliver. And let me just show you an example. So I've got 2 examples here of ways to consultant A could say something and consultant B would say something. So let's just look through this for a second. Kaylee, read what consultant A says.
Due to the unforeseeable event X, the next deliverable will be delayed by 1 month. I'm very sorry. We are doing everything we can to reduce the delay.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. Respectful enough, right? Might be. Okay. Kanika, be consultant B. Read what that says.
Due to the unforeseeable event X, the next deliverable would have been delayed by 3 months, but we reacted quickly and found a workaround solution, which should save a lot of time. So we expect to reduce the delay to 1 month only.
Okay, wait. What went on there? What was different?
We have a solution.
Yeah, but what else happened there?
We
I
gave
don't
more
think that-
detail, and we saw that we were showing that we were actually really working hard to reduce the delay time.
So it's the same delay, 1 month versus 1 month, but adding in that part of it was going to be 3 months, but actually because we got in there real quick and shifted it, it became 1 month. Now, what do you think the difference is for the client's acceptance of these two? Which one do you think they might respond more favorably to?
Second one, consultant
second one.
B.
So here's why in the virtual checklist, it talks about, okay, hang on a minute. I want to think through exactly how I'm going to say this, especially if it's difficult news. And I want to go over a couple of ways to do that, because I know some of you may be going, oh, you just added in that other little sentence there and kind of did a little marketing thing on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we need to do the same thing, because how we deliver news to a client, to our best friend, to our spouse matters, doesn't it? And so that's part of where we can think through what we can do. So let me give you a couple of tips for delivering, and there's some fill in the blanks you can just see here on your page that you can use as guidelines when you have difficult news. First off, there should never be any surprises. I mean, nobody should be shocked. I know things come up, but we probably, if we look back, if they're shocked by it, it's likely there was other stuff leading up to whatever this news is that we may not have been sharing with them. Do you know what I'm talking about? That, you know, so like I'm worried we might be getting a little bit of trouble here, or that this, you know, whatever that lead up is. So really, if this was a total shock, go back and look at what the communication was like prior. Again, bad news does not get better with age. As quickly as you can get to them to inform them of something being different, the better. But carefully choose your method of communication. When you're going to say it, are you going to do it on the phone, or are you going to do it so you can be eyeball to eyeball? You know, whatever that method is matters. And I will tell you this, again, back to the email thing or even text, watch out. Remember, we said 93% of all communication happens at the nonverbal level. When you only have words, You leave the interpretation of how you were going to say it up to them. Could that go sideways? So that's why you want to let them hear your tone of voice. Let them see you eyeball to eyeball as much as possible so that they can continue to maintain that trust for you. Look for positives, but honestly, be real. You know, if this is going to take a lot longer, or hang on a second, I'm adding somebody in. This is going to take a little bit more, or whatever, those kinds of things. Be upfront about that. Here's another thing. Always make sure that you come with solutions. Always bring a solution. I mean, I know you all know that. That's a Hitachi Solutions mantra, hopefully. Always bring a solution. People can tolerate hearing an issue if right on that backside, you've got something you're suggesting. And always follow up and follow through. I don't know if you've ever had that where somebody has gone off and they're fixing something for you and then they never get back with you. What does that communicate if they don't follow up with you? I mean, what is that? Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
It can feel like either they're not working on it, or they're not, the issue's not a priority to them. I think the default for most people is that you're not doing anything at all.
Yes. And again, here's another axiom to tuck away. In the absence of information, people tend to believe what? The worst. They do. And so you being right there to give them a quick update, and even if the update is no news, we're on track though, we're still staying the course. That date I gave you looks like it's good, but we're making our way. Make sense? Okay, so I want to give you a quick formula though, and I want to share with you. So if you'll look at the bottom of that same page, you'll see a formula of how you can make sure that you kind of use this to get ready to deliver that tough news. So it starts with preparing, delivering, and then following up. So here's the formula written out, and then we're going to take a quick an opportunity to do a scenario. Okay. So if you'll look through here, and it's on your worksheet, so you'll be able to use it when we do this scenario in just a moment. But preparing would be set up the expectations right at the very front, you know, be able to manage the expectations beforehand. Consider when you're going to say it, when you're going to share it, who's going to be on the call with you, and then outline your facts and your solutions. So that's you getting all of your ducks in a row. Obviously, the delivery, you can see those bullets there. Get to the point, explain the background and details. Reframe the situation, by the way. Charles, what does reframe the situation mean? Well,
when you reframe the situation, you are basically restating the situation how it is.
Yeah. It can be restating it, but with a more positive. It's like we're hanging over it a new view of it that can become more positive if possible. But it can also have solutions and alternatives, and really your delivery of that. You're a human being. How you're feeling matters. So we want to get ourselves in a mindset where we can deliver that clearly and not get upset if they react, those kinds of things, right? And then lastly, there's our follow-up. What are you going to do? What's the time frame? What are they going to do? How can we follow up? Okay, so there's our framework. All right, now here's what I want to do. You can see this on the next page of your workbook. So you can check that out there. I want to show you, we've got 4 scenarios. I'm going to break us off into pairs in just a minute. And what I would like you to do is to pick one of the scenarios. And what I'd like you to do is walk through together. How can you use prepare, deliver, and follow up to deliver the message that's listed on the scenario? Okay, so if you want to just see, just for fun, let's look at the very first one. So read through, everybody look through scenario A. If you decide to choose this one, there's 3 others, but read through it real quick so you get an idea what I'm talking about. All right. Okay, so you got an idea? The other 3 are little different scenarios, but they're real. Is this real life?
Yeah, it's a very much real life, and most of like 90% happens same thing.
Okay. So you've got the scenario. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to break you off into pairs here in just a second, and you're going to pick whichever one of those you want to work on for a moment. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to just give you about 5 minutes or so, just sort of think through the whole, how would I plan for it? What would I do? What would I say? And then how would I follow up? And together come up with your solution for that scenario. Everybody good with that? Okay, so let me go ahead and get us into our rooms. Let's say 2, 3. Okay. Let me just hang on a second. Who am I? All right, are you ready? All right, here we go. I'm going to open the rooms. Remember, I'm going to just give you about 5 minutes. So share quickly, picking that scenario, and then we'll come back and just discuss it for a few minutes, and then we start our presentations. All right, here we go. Go ahead and join. Incredible. That says something about you as a consultant, right? That you're thinking it through, you're thinking about what they're going to be going through. And I think that is what those are the qualities most people want to do business with, those types of elements in a consultant. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to shift to do our last presentation. And so here's what I need to hang on a minute. I need to give you, if everyone remembers how we did this, this is the link. So would everybody take this link? I just put it in chat. Grab that and open up your feedback responses sheet. We're going to use the same questions as last time. And so give me a thumbs up once everybody's got that up and ready. Good. Okay. And you'll fill that out, and then you'll click the, I believe it says give another, can't remember exactly what it. Once you submit it, then it'll say submit another one, and then we'll just queue it up and we'll keep going through. Okay, so everybody good? All right, I would like to know who would like to kick us off.
Oh, we're not splitting up this time. I remember we split up last time.
Ian, I mentioned this early before you got on. What I was saying was we're going to all do it together. A, okay. You'll be able to get more feedback, and B, you'll be able to see more people. And I felt that that would be super valuable. So who would like to start us?
Does that mean that I'm going first, or
It certainly can be. Do you want me? You want to go
does
first?
anybody else want to go? I just as soon get it out of the way. If
I am with you, Ian. Okay, so here we
that's
go.
okay.
I'm
How
gonna.
do I need to share my screen, right?
Yes,
So, okay,
I
yeah.
made you the co-host, so please share
Host
your screen.
disabled participant screen sharing is what it's telling me.
Okay, hold on just a moment. All right, just a second.
Let me know when you're.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so try it now.
Okay, that's better. How do I? This is where I think I want you guys.
That little green button at the bottom. There we
Can
go.
you see a presentation screen?
Absolutely.
You can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm getting it all ready. So anywhere between 2 and 3 minutes, whatever you decide. But the buzzer will go off 3.
Hi. My name is Ian Bright. I'm from Bad News Industries. A little bit about us is we like to create a nurturing relationship with the clients that we have. So here's our real world example of how we might deliver some bad news. Everybody knows that we're in a tough economy. We have runaway inflation, low sales at our company here. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. There are a lot of other things going on that make it difficult. So as a result, we need to get involved with some cost reduction options. When we've considered a few, we've considered layoffs, pay cuts, bonus elimination, but we did kind of zero in on what we thought might be the most effective based on past experience and best practices. Voluntary attrition and furloughs were what we came up with would work best under our current circumstances. And so I'm going to get into a little bit of detail on both of these. Voluntary attrition. We have some redundancy in the company, and we're going to take our senior people and offer them the opportunity to leave the company with a severance package after we do the analysis. And we're hoping that's going to encourage people to leave voluntarily, so we didn't have to deal with layoffs. As far as furloughs are concerned, they can be a little tricky, but based on our analysis, we decided that everybody was going to need to take 4 weeks off next year. You're going to get to choose the weeks that you take off, and it's going to be 1 week per quarter. It'll be your choice, and the pay is going to be adjusted on a quarterly basis, so you don't have to see a big reduction in salary during the time that you have selected for yourself. So you're going to see a reduction across the board, and hopefully that'll help you with your budgeting and planning, so that we don't have a big impact on your family during the weeks that you've taken off. If everything goes as expected with these policies that we're putting in place, we expect to save $25 million and 1,000 full-time jobs. So we're hoping that we're only going to lose a few people through attrition, and that's voluntary attrition based on the program we put in place. And we're going to come back, having met those goals, we're going to come back stronger together. We wanted to make this pretty quick so that you could formulate some questions in your heads. And if you need to ask any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me or other members of the team. And my contact information is here, and we'll be glad to hear what you have to say. The end.
All right. Okay. All right, everybody, go ahead and give Ian some feedback.
Did everyone see his slides?
Yeah, Ian, I have to say that your slides didn't advance at all.
You're kidding. Oh, they were advancing all along here.
Okay.
Oh, maybe we're looking at the wrong screen.
So did you set it up on?
I put it on presentation, and the slides, advanced and on my timing.
I got.
We're looking at just the regular PowerPoint with your slides on the left.
Now I brought it back to that screen. Is that all you ever saw?
Yes.
Yeah, we just saw the first one.
Oh, yeah, it was advancing in front of my face as I
So
spoke.
did you go over to set up presentation? Click over there and click on the presentation at the bottom bar of the bar.
Yeah, this is what
like
you see this slideshow. Can you see where it says slideshow?
Yeah.
That's how I started the whole thing. When I click this button right now, let me.
Yep. Go ahead.
You see the presentation?
We still see just the first slide.
Oh, I'm seeing on my screen, on my team, on the Zoom screen, I'm
Mhm.
seeing the whole presentation
Okay.
doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay, so
Huh.
let's do this. Let's in the next one, real quick, if you wouldn't mind, Ian, because I think your slides look really beautiful. Go ahead and just click manually over on the left and click down through them, would you? So
Sure.
over along where the
Okay.
slides are down the left side, would you just click them so we can see
All
a couple of them?
slides. Can you see slides now? Or
We just see the first
just see
slide.
those slides?
Yeah.
I'm trying
yeah.
to get back to last viewed end show here, end show. Now you see, so if I click down the left-hand
There you
side
go,
now,
there
are
you
you
go.
seeing an advance?
Now they're moving, yes.
You want me to do that over again?
Yeah.
The only thing I won't have the advantage of is I set my timings up, but I'll
That's all
try.
right. Just click
I'll
through
try
a
to
couple of slides so we can see them. That's all. Just click, keep
Sure,
down for a moment.
basically, I'll just start. Hi, my name is Ian Bright. I'm from Bad News Industries. And then this thing flipped.
Okay.
And can you see the full slide? I'm sorry about this. but-
That's all right. That's
Yeah,
okay.
At Bad News Industries, we strive to create nurturing relationships with our clients. And, you know, I put enough time in there for you guys to have reviewed this.
Yes.
Next slide
Fine.
would have been that we'd like to present a real world example of how we might deliver some bad news. As you know, we're in a tough economy. There's runaway of inflation, and our sales have been low. And as a result, we need to come up with some cost cutting measures. Some of the options that we considered are layoffs, pay cuts, bonus elimination, and then we did settle in on voluntary attrition and furloughs. I'm going to get into a little bit of each of these. For voluntary attrition, we are going to do some analysis that's based on some job redundancy that we think we may have here. And we're going to look at seniority and offer people some severance packages. And we're hoping to incentivize some voluntary attrition, which is going to save us some money. As far as furloughs are concerned, we're offering people, we're requiring next year that people take 4 weeks off during the year. It's going to be the employee's choice of 1 week per quarter, and your pay will be adjusted quarterly. So it's not a shock to the system when you take your week off that there won't be a large reduction in pay. There'll be an average across the quarter. If we get what we expect out of these policies, we're going to save as a company $25 million, and we'll save 1,000 full-time jobs. We believe that this will bring us back stronger and set us up for years of success and health as a company. And I didn't want to overdo it with a lot of detail here, but you are encouraged to go ahead and ask us any questions that you might have about these policies and how they may impact you going forward.
All right. All right. Good job. Good job. Okay. So everybody give Ian his feedback. Ian, go ahead and stop sharing. Good work. Good work. And remember to go where you're going to submit another set of responses. So does anybody want to share anything just real quick for Ian?
I love those slides. The visuals were great. It was very crisp and clean, and actually kind of cheery, which is interesting considering the news that was being delivered.
Okay. But wait a minute. So even unconsciously, can you see how you make something look visually? We're visual creatures. What they see while we're talking, we think they're hearing everything we say, and they are, but they don't hold on to it like they do visuals. So credit to you, Ian. That was a great way to see something different. And that the fact that Michelle picked up cheery tuck that away, because remember how you even make a slide, even if it has bad news on it, it could alter some of the ways people feel about it. And Ian, just one quick thing. The way you are framed up in the screen right now is excellent. There are times when you get a lot closer and it's almost a little, so just where you are or just even slightly back a little bit is excellent space. Yeah, right. And excellent. Okay. All right. Who wants to go next? Well done. Thanks for going first. Who's next?
I can go next.
All right, Michelle, you are on. So let's make sure you can share. I think everybody can do it now. Are you able to?
Oh, sorry. I have to click the share button.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready, or when you start speaking, I'll start.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Lewis with Hitachi Solution here to do a discussion about sales order management for our training session today. So on the agenda for today, we're going to discuss adding products to a sales order, shipping and billing addresses, prepayment information, order tracking, and attaching purchase orders. So when you're adding products to an order, what you're actually doing is creating a new order product record. And that order product record will show in the products subgrid on your order. And within the order product record, you can also do additional things like update a shipping address for a specific product, as well as provide discounts. For shipping and billing addresses, you can choose your address type from the list of address types that you have associated to the account that is also associated to the order. And this will automatically update your addresses for those fields, and you don't have to worry about going back and forth and manually typing in that information. Prepayment information is populated underneath the total for the order. And you also have to fill out, if you have a prepayment on your order, you have to fill out how that prepayment was made. Was it with a credit card or cash? And that information can be filled in the payment information section. And again, as a reminder, this is not going to subtract, the prepayment amount is not going to be subtracted from the total of the order or the invoice, but it will show as a note on the invoice so the customer can see that you are aware that they have made a payment. For order tracking, once the order is submitted into Finance and Operations system through the dual-write integration will update that same order record with the invoice number that is going to be created for the order, the date that any products were shipped, and the tracking number of those products. If you don't have products on an order, if you just have an event, then all you'll see here is your invoice number. If the customer sends you a purchase order, you can attach a copy of that purchase order document to the actual order itself using the timeline feature. You can attach it in a note. For your note, you can just type in that purchase order number. That way you don't actually have to open it up if you need to reference it. And this prevents you from having to go back through your emails to search for a purchase order that the customer has sent you and that's associated with their order. And that is the end of our training session today. Let me know if you have any questions and we'll go through each of those questions one by one.
All right, right on the button. Okay, go ahead and give her feedback.
I'll go next.
All right, good deal. Hang on, let's get our feedback in. All right. Let me know when you've submitted, everybody. Any quick feedback for Michelle before we start with Charles? I think I mentioned this last week, Michelle. I love your voice. I think you just have a really great resonating voice, in that, and your mic or speaker is really good quality, and so that makes it
Yep.
pleasant to listen to. So excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's Ian. I think that under normal circumstances, because some of the topic got a little complex in terms of choices that could be made. You could go this way or that way, kind of thing. Those would have been great stopping points for questions. But I have a feeling that Michelle would have done that under different circumstances. We're just here to kind of deliver a quick presentation and get through it. So that's
Yeah, right. Well, and one other thing I would also say too, I like that, stopping and engaging. Also, I think your slides were really nice and clean, but they were pretty repetitive in their coloring. And so if you wanted to, when we got into like the second or third with a box or a circle around it, maybe change colors or do something that kind of keeps the eye busy while you're sharing. All right. Okay, Charles. Go ahead and share your screen. Everybody else get your feedback sheet ready to go. Okay, we got
You
it.
ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to my colleague, Michelle Lewis, explain to you about sales orders. And right now we're going to talk about the lead to the opportunity sales process. And that is basically when you get a lead and it turns into an opportunity. And then my colleague, Michelle, would turn that into a sales order. But before that lead would actually turn into an opportunity, we would have to generate the lead. So how exactly would you generate a lead to be in the Dynamics 365 sales system? You would use something called Dynamics 365 marketing. And today in this Lunch and Learn, we're going to cover how to use real-time marketing. So in the agenda, we'll discuss what is the marketing module, and then how you would use outbound versus real-time and the differences between the two. So how you would use outbound marketing. It's basically an extension of the Dynamics 365 CRM sales system that allows you to create customer engagement platforms. You can make anything from landing pages where you can advertise any type of promotion and place a form on the landing page so that you can get that contact's information. Once you get that contact's information, you can place them in something called a customer journey, where it would allow you to send a series of emails based on the actions that the contact was taking within that email. So for example, right here in this display, you can see that this real-time customer journey would start out with a trigger at the top. And once this trigger was activated, the contact would go down this entire path. And you can see here that if this contact would click this email that they received after this trigger went off, if they click that, then this yes branch would be activated and they could receive a text message. Or maybe they might want to receive a push notification. Over here on the right, if you look at this diagram, if the contact chooses to not click any link within an email, then they would get these two actions right here. One is closure, a trigger closure, which means they're getting taken out of the customer journey. And then another one is a follow-up email. So what are some differences between real-time and out-time? Well, initially, outbound marketing was created to have features such as segmentation, marketing forms, lead gen forms, marketing pages, event management, and social posting. But there wasn't anything like text messages. So within the past couple years, Microsoft realized that being on the phone is extremely important. So they created the ability to send text with real-time marketing. And now we can do segment-based journeys like I showed you, push notifications, and any type of text campaign you would like. So We are about to move off to the demo.
All right, good job. Right on it. Okay, let's give him his feedback.
Same idea as before, I guess. One of his slides was great all along. As far as referring to Michelle and kind of gaining the trust of the audience and interest of the audience, that was awesome. Love the wagging tail of the dog. That was awesome. The one complex slide where you got into a lot of detail, that would obviously require, probably either breakout groups or follow-up rather than trying to get people to focus in during a short presentation. I know we have our limitations here, and you would probably do that, but it's noticeable in a short presentation that, hey, we're not going to be able to focus in on all of that detail and really ingest it without going out and collaborating. That's my feedback so far.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a very good presentation and very good visual, and the delivery also very nice. And keep it up, Charles.
Thanks, Deke.
I also like how you asked a question and then moved into the answer. Because, as a listener, if I don't know the answer and you ask the question, then I'm already thinking, well, what is that answer? And so I'm more in tune to what you're discussing, because you've sparked me to, it's just kind of natural with somebody ask a question that you try and think of an answer,
Yeah.
And so I'm listening for the answer to the question that you asked. So it helps to keep the listener engaged in the conversation.
Yeah, that's a great technique to do that, and great vocal quality, really pleasant to listen to. But I agree with Ian about the slides, and I think that you could even do what they call a pop out, or when you were going down the branches of the journey one, if you did a slide that had a close up of something. That really allowed people to parcel out, because there was a lot on this, even though I know that's probably supposed to be a screenshot of something they would see in that program. If you can pop that out, that can help. All right, well done. Okay, everybody's submitted. Who's going to go next?
I can go.
Kanika, you're up.
All right.
Go ahead and share when you're ready.
I have to hit share.
There you go.
All right, and I'm going to go with that.
We've got it.
All right, so I am going to give you 5 team tips that you can use today. My name is Kanika Bailey, and we're talking Teams today. Teams is a tool that we all use daily, regularly during our calls and our communication with our teams and all of that good stuff. So I have some tips that you can implement today. So in Teams, did you know that you can see all of the teams that you belong to and view analytics by using the little gear icon in the lower corner? So if you're in your Teams view, go to that little gear icon in the lower corner and you'll be able to see all of the teams that you belong to, how many members are in those teams, kind of the activity of those teams, and you can also leave and join teams from that screen. So very quickly see all the teams and then manage those. The next tip, did you know that you can send an urgent message by using the exclamation point icon? Now, don't use this all the time. Don't become that person that's always sending urgent messages. But if you mark a chat message urgent, the recipient will get a notification every 2 minutes that that message has not been responded to. So make your urgent messages urgent immediately. The next thing, did you know that you can use the immersive reader to have Teams read to you your chat messages or other documentation? To do this, go to your chat message. There's a 3 ellipses icon there. You can click on that, click the immersive reader, and then click play to have the system read the message to you. Did you also know that you can use the tabs button in your chats? So if you have a chat, say, for example, I have a weekly meeting with my manager. And we chat in those meetings, and he will put documentation in there and things like that. I can use that chat, and I can, if there's some document that we look at regularly or some other thing that we want to share and collaborate on, I can load that document in. I can have that be a tab on my chat window, and that is just accessible by both of us or the people in the chat. This would also be good for internal team chat. So if you have a team for a project that you're working on and you want to be able to have that documentation that you're working on, your blueprint in that area, you can use that tab for that information. And then finally, there's a meeting recap feature to see what you may have missed. So if there's a meeting that you may have missed and you have it on your calendar, you can go back to that meeting in the past and see the meeting recap that has the transcript, the attendees, the notes, all of that good stuff in one place so that you can recap that meeting very quickly. All right. In summary, although I only reviewed 5 tips, there are tons of other tools and teams to help with collaboration and productivity. Which tip from today did you find most useful? And that is it. Thank you. This has been Kanika Bailey.
All right, everybody get your feedback in.
I feel like we're all getting paid by Microsoft to advertise their products here. I like the visuals overall. I mean, if we're looking for feedback, the only thing that I would bring up is only because you kind of emphasized this at the very beginning, is to keep those font sizes as big as possible, and keep the wording down as much as possible, because if people have to start reading the detail, you lose their attention on the message you're trying to convey verbally.
Yeah, so Kanika, what I was thinking with that is two approaches. One is each one of those tips has its own slide. That's one tip. That just move from each one, and then he's absolutely right. Put that font up to 44 or something like that. Or if you want to do an icon of some kind with just the title of what that tip was, and then you speak the rest of it. That would help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was beautiful though. The colors were beautiful, weren't they, guys? It was good. It was very eye-catching.
Yeah, it's rare that I get to use something that's not Hitachi branded. So I took full advantage of it. I'm finding the prettiest thing I can.
Well done. Hey, one other thing I want us to note, because everybody does this from time to time. Kanika, would you we don't see your beautiful face fully. We're seeing the here.
Yeah.
So whatever you need to do to push that camera so it points down a little bit, or elevate yourself a little bit, try to get most of your face in the screen, because every once in a while, then when you would say something, you would drop below and I couldn't even see like all of your mouth. So
okay,
that helps. Well done.
I was also going to say using a little humor is good, as well as oh, there was something else I was going to point out. I mean, even just like the energy, because she came across as being excited about the topic, which just naturally lends you to wonder, okay, well, she's excited for a reason. What's so great about this? And you're looking for what it is, why she has so much energy about it, and it just kind of sets the stage for this is something positive. And then the ending on the question, like, what was most useful, gets the listener to stop and think, and you end on a positive. They stop and think about, okay, what did I get out of this that was beneficial?
Yeah, good job. Yeah, love that energy. Okay, who's going next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Sushil and then Atik. There we go. Go ahead, Sushil.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Give me 1 sec. Hope you guys are seeing my screen.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Sushil Deshabaina. I'm going to present you the test strategy document. I'm a QA lead, practicing a quality assurance testing.
Hang on, Sushil. You're not in presentation mode though. We're similar to where Ian was. So if you need to get it over to presentation mode. There we go.
Okay. All right. My name is Sushil Deshabena. I'm a QA lead, practicing quality assurance testing for more than 20 years. Today, I'm going to present a test strategy document that I have created for a client project. Let's move on to the what constitutes a test strategy document. We need to clearly define a testing approach, different types of testings that need to be followed in order to successfully implement a project into production without many bugs. And I'm going to talk about definitions of each type of testing, and we'll go over the defect management process and the defect resolution process. And the test strategy document needs testing roles and responsibilities, who would be doing what kind of testing, and when they will do the testing, and how they're going to do, whether it's an automation or a performance testing. Those needs to be defined. And then for that, we need to have a different environment for each phase of the testing. UAT folks would need a separate end-to-end connected environment. That's we call it as a UAT environment. For quality assurance, you need a testing environment that is connected with all the interfacing systems that the data gets moved from one system to the other system. And we have to define clearly what constitutes that entry point to a particular test phase or a particular test environment. So we would define testing entry and exit criteria. And finally, we'll talk about the user acceptance testing when we define a test strategy. In the interest of the time, I may not go all of these agenda items, but I would touch base on the testing approach and the different testing types. So let's move on to testing approach. We would follow the unified framework of workflow for testing this project solution. In this unified framework, there are multiple phases: the initiate phase, the blueprint phase, and the build phase, and then the validate phase, and the operate phase once it gets deployed. The focus for the testing is around the blueprint phase, where the testing happens all the time. Most of the time in this agile, when we follow the agile principles of testing. We get the code from the development team once they finish their unit testing, and then the testing team would take that code, and then once it gets deployed in a particular environment, the testing team would go about and then do their functional testing or the system testing, and
All right.
continue to do
you.
regression.
Go ahead and finish your statement. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that we have a lot of testing activity that would happen. Would follow all this unit testing, smoke testing, integration testing, system testings, and the
All right,
security
I'm
roles.
going to stop you there. And so I just wanted you to make sure you finish that last slide where, all right, good, good, good. All right, let's give him feedback. All right, any feedback real quick?
Yeah, I love that agenda slide with the circle and the arrows. Just, sometimes stuff like that shows movement and I guess kind of brings a little bit of energy into a presentation. If you're going to discuss the different types of testing within the presentation, you don't really have to mention them all at the very beginning. You can just kind of mention, we're going to discuss there's various types, multiple types of testing, and we'll get more into that as we go through our conversation today. And then that way you don't have to spend so much time up front listing out the different types of testing, because you're going to discuss it again anyway.
That's good, because that did get a little long, and the fonts were kind of small, and so I wasn't quite sure what I was, trying to track with you through that whole slide. So that would be a good suggestion. Any other feedback? All right, so everybody got their things submitted. Atik, are you ready? We just have, by the
Yes.
way, guys, I'm gonna hang on a second. I'm gonna ask for your patience, and we've got 2 more people. Are we okay to go till 10 after at the latest? Promise we'll be done by then. Everybody okay?
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, Atik, go ahead.
Even I kept timer for 3 minutes only, so I will finish within 3 minutes.
Perfect. That's great. Go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah. Let me share my screen. Sorry, I have
That's all right. Hover at the bottom.
this. Oh, I'm sharing another screen. Hold on, just give me a second.
That's okay. I know you guys operate a lot in teams, do you not, for your meetings?
Yeah, so team, we are.
Yeah, I get that totally. So just hover at the bottom and you'll see that green button that says share screen. That's in Zoom. That's where it is.
No, but it's not showing me that presentation mode.
Okay, hang on just a minute. I'm gonna. There we are. You're on. Excellent. Just get it.
So can is it showing now full screen or no?
Not in slideshow mode. There it is. It is. Very good. Go ahead.
So let me. Good morning. My name is Atik Patel, and I am from Hitachi Solution. So today, our agenda is Power Virtual Agent. So the Power Virtual Agent is a bot. And what is a bot technology and the automation of the bot technology for the business. So we are going to discuss this. And why the bot? You might heard recent news about ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, it's revolutionized tool to help the business, and it's drastically supporting to everyone, even the all humanity. So now let's say why Power Virtual Agents. So Power Virtual Agent is a bot, and that bot is helping to the business. So what in terms of the helping the business? So research shows 80% of the call received by the call center are frequently asked questions. So to answer and to address that 80% of frequently asked questions is that compared to the human, the bot works very efficient. It's very frequent, it's very efficient, and it's quick response. With the costing, we can save the cost. And it's based on the artificial intelligence. With bot, you can have an automation mundane task like creating the appointment, creating the task, creating the sales order, and it's improved customer service a lot. So what are the other benefits and advantages of the bots? So bots having like an artificial intelligence, which we feed based on the questions and answer. And it's really very efficient compared to time saving. For example, it saved the money to liabilities from the companies which hire the human agent to attain the call, and the response time is too lengthy compared to the bot. And it's totally worked on the NLP. So how Power Virtual Agent work? It's based on the incoming user query, detect the correct intent. You might see it everywhere in the insurance, banks, industry, and everywhere. Whenever you open the website, the chat bot comes up and pop-ups and is asked and detect the correct intent, and based on that intent is deliver best response. You've seen how quickest response compared to the human agent. So this is a very beneficial for the business, where return of investment is far better than the normal. So here the bot response works. So based on the query, it's normalized, it's spell check.
All right, Atik,
And
3 minutes. There we go. Oh, well, there. All right.
I wanted to have like any question answered. Thank you very much for your time.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right. Let's give him some feedback. All right.
Yeah.
Feedback? Quick, George, you're getting ready to, so you can queue up when you're ready. Any other feedback for Atik?
I was just going to say, I know he had asked, I think day one, if it was okay if he stood. And to me, it always just seems like when a person's standing and they're kind of, moving around and kind of shifting, that to me, I interpret that as they're very engaged in the conversation. Almost
And
like you're standing
energy
when
is
you do a presentation in person, right? Yeah.
It is interactive subject as well.
Yes. Well, and I felt like it's easier to keep your energy up when you're standing. And for those of you who are sitting and you're doing a presentation, I actually have to sit way up on the, so like my chair's way back there, I kind of sit up. I need to be standing more often, Atik. I think you're inspiring me to do so. All right, George, when you're ready. By the way, Atik, like I mentioned, great energy and great. The slides were very engaging, nice and bright and clean. I like that. All right, George, you're ready when?
Yeah. 1 second. Share my screen. Presentation mode. Can you see my screen, guys?
Not yet.
Yeah. Now, is it visible?
Not yet. Try it one more time.
Okay. Okay. Is it visible now?
No, have you gone to that green button at the bottom?
Yeah,
Hover
I
down at the
did.
bottom and share screen.
Yeah, but I'm sharing a screen to where my presentation is supposed to be.
There it is. Now you're doing it. Now you got
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay. So I just need to.
I go back over to you, whichever.
Okay. It works now.
We see your feedback form, but you'll want to take it
Okay.
over to your presentation.
Right. Yeah. I will go in the PowerPoint presentation mode in a second. Is my PPT appears to you?
It looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. This is George Michael speaking, and I'm working for Hitachi Solution. And today's subject is Dynamics 365 CE customer service. I would like to introduce you the customer service benefits and capabilities, which hopefully you can get benefit from it. Agenda of today, welcome to Dynamics 365 customer service, and second subject, the capabilities of it. And the last section of our meeting today is related to the questions and answers. Welcome to customer service 365 CE module. And so the basic question is, what is Dynamics 365 customer service? So basically, it's a business application that empowers service teams to provide fast and consistent and high quality customer service and gather insight about the customer trends and interactions. Dynamics 365 customer service is one of Microsoft Dynamics 365 application, and the customer service module integrate with the rest of Dynamics 365 stack, but also it can work as a standalone solution. The capabilities of Dynamics 365, we will go just through two of these most important two, and for sure there is a lot of capabilities, but because of limitation of time, we will go with showing just the two of the main features of it, the Omni-channel and Customer Service Hub. So what is Omni-channel? The Omni-channel is Dynamics 365 customer service feature that provide access to customer communication, and also it give a lot of channels for communication and connection with the customer, including the SMS, text messages, Teams, chat, emails, calls, etc. That means that your customer service representative can see the full history and the interaction with the customer. The interface is built like an inbox to show each user communication across any channel on the account or cases they are responsible for. About the Customer Service Hub, it helps in managing knowledge artifacts and routing of cases, and is available for use on the desktop browsers and also mobile devices. We came to question and answer section if you have any questions. And finally, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thanks.
All right, good job. Right on it.
Thank you.
All right, let's give them feedback. All right, go ahead and you can end sharing.
Yeah, I'm trying to do. I'm not familiar with the Zoom one.
Go back to that green button.
Yeah.
Or there.
Stop
There
share.
should be
Okay.
a red button. There it is.
Yeah, I found it finally. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Any feedback for George? Well, I will say, George, you have a very pleasant voice. It's a little softer, and yet you speak quickly, pretty quickly. So it was enjoyable to listen to. I would watch, and you can go back and watch the video on this, that you use some ums and uhs, and they're filler words. We all do it. Every one of us does it, but we have to watch out for that, because that begins to give an impression that you were not quite sure what we're saying next. And so you might want to just pay attention to that a little bit. Good job.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Okay. So let me ask you a question. What's the value of what we just went through, guys?
It's very, very, very informative, and as you practice, you will discover so many things, and you will be a perfect on that one. And it is a daily routine for us for the demonstration to engage the customer. So we need to work on this presentation skills.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Anyone else? Even just this part of watching each other, what's the value to you of doing that?
It's good to see different communication styles, because there's multiple ways to give a good presentation and keep an audience engaged. And it's nice to see various ways that it can be done.
Nice. Very good. That really is the whole point of all of this. And I'm thank you for being patient on our running over just a little bit. It was important that everybody had an opportunity, and I wanted you to all see each other. So that was kind of the reason we didn't split off into the two groups. But so I thank you for all of your attention during these 3 sessions. Please let Amy know what you thought about our time together, and anything as you go along. I want to be a resource. So if you've got my email address, if there's something, as you turn to each other, talk about, hey, can you listen to me, or can I walk through something with you? Turn to each other, but also feel free to reach out if there's anything I can do to you for you, because I feel like you are doing this every day. And sometimes stopping to go, wait a minute, I need to think this thing through because I want to do it at the easiest, most streamlined way possible, just takes us intention. And so part of this training was to help you heighten what you already do, make sure you keep doing the things you're already doing right, and add a few tools for your toolbox. So I hope it's done that for you. Any other comments before we go?
It's really very informative, and I enjoyed and learned a lot from you, Jackie. Thank you very much for this session here.
You are so welcome. All right, well, you guys, thank you so much. We'll
Thank
talk.
you.
All right, take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.